Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast, the Coindrop podcast, episode 60. As you can see, I am by myself, and I'm on the wrong Twitch. But to make a long story short, my OBS updated or whatever and signed me out, and I was too stupid to write down the information for the official podcast Twitch information. So, we're here. But that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and recording locally so we can still have the podcast, and I am recording here on my Twitch as well as my YouTube. And for those who may watch me on the YouTube side, yeah, I've got a podcast if you didn't know, if I wasn't clear enough about it. But here we are. So with that said, it has been a relatively slow week, so it's going to be just me talking about the little things that have happened throughout the week. Some of them will probably, it'll be like a long quick fire news. I think that's more than likely what's going to happen. So with that said, let me go ahead and pull up the information that I was able to pull or to find, whatever you might call it. I was out with the family and we got back like 15 minutes before 10, which is why I'm starting 10 minutes late, but that's okay. I think it's okay anyways. I think you guys are okay with that. So yeah, let me go ahead and grab a link real quick because it's not going to share it in the appropriate locations because it's not set up for my personal Twitch. Let me share a link. Here we go. All right, that's good enough shared. Actually, you know, let me share it one more location real quick. Share it here. Give me a quick second. No. All right. As you can hear, I've got quite the cough, but that's just an annoying allergy, basically. Nasal drip. It's really annoying. It sucks. So, okay. News this week. I'm going to be kind of looking for stuff as I talk about stuff, simply because, like I said, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to prepare. So, with that said, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of things. One of the things that caught my eye this week was Battlefield 2042 is getting a crossover with Dead Space, which is actually looks pretty freaking sweet. I don't know how much of a horror element it has, but it sure looks like it's going to have a little bit of a horror element. But the only thing I saw about it that was like, okay, that's pretty sweet. You can get Isaac's skin and, you know, he wears his armor and that looks freaking cool. I don't think you can get his gun, but either way, you can get Isaac's armor effectively and it looks pretty cool. But all of there's no necromorphs. There's no necromorphs. None. It's just humans that look like they're wearing some sort of skin tight thing and they're holding like hammers or something like that. So it is, to me, it kind of looks like a generic what's the word? Horde mode. But, I mean, I love horde modes. And this looks like it'll be fun simply because Dead Space and Battlefield. I mean, why not? I would assume it's a horde mode, but I haven't read all of this stuff. The only thing that seems stupid to me is it's a limited time. Like, I don't understand why games do this. Like, I understand they're trying to drive engagement, but like, if you're trying to drive engagement, why would you choose such a short period of time? It's from July 9th to July 16th, so it goes live in 3 days. Apparently, squads are tested by their human resilience and resourcefulness against a new and relentless enemy, all while trying to escape the Boreas laboratory. There's new weapon, charm skins, player card backgrounds, and tags. Dead Space cosmetics, of course, as I mentioned already. You can get the outfit Marked Man, 3 legendary weapon skins and more, and will be priced at in-game currency. It says that they've also confirmed that we'll be getting a little title update alongside of it with a complete patch note set, you know, for apparently yesterday. But it looks pretty sweet to me. I'm probably going to reinstall the game simply because I actually enjoyed 2042. So why not? This just gives me a reason to play it again. So moving on from there. The next set of news that's been making a little bit of a splash. Oh, he's okay. Sorry, I was looking at a comment from one of our patrons. Yeah, my local's good. I'm making sure to pay attention to it. I'd hate to lose it. That'd be really annoying. Anyways, the next bit of news that's been making a little bit of a splash this week is Digital Foundry did a video where they've actually done quite a few videos this week. There's a lot for me to catch up on. But anyways, they did a breakdown of the Xbox Series X is the most powerful console ever. And technically speaking, it is. And what I mean technically speaking, I mean when you look at the actual specs. Technically, the specs. The specs of the system are actually, they are superior to the PlayStation specs as far as, teraflops powers and more RAM and blah, blah, blah. The thing is, PlayStation 5 very regularly, and it seems more like a 60, 65, maybe 70 if you stretch it, % of games perform better on PlayStation. It's close to a 50-50 split. Sometimes the Xbox runs out on top, but usually you can look forward to PlayStation games running better. But that's not always the case. But in any case, Digital Foundry was like, well, what's the deal here? And more or less, the long story short of it, without me, getting super into it, is Sony made a better bus. Their hardware is more streamlined, and there's less bottlenecks. Sony and Mark Cerny basically just did a better job of making sure that information travels faster and more efficiently. That's the easiest way I can explain it. Without getting super into it, but there's a split memory setup on the Xbox sides, which does sort of create a little bit of a bottleneck in comparison to the PlayStations. I mean, heck, PlayStation literally revolutionized SSDs in the industry. Once when they announced how they designed their SSD for the PlayStation 5, the rest of the world's SSD followed suit, more or less. So that's basically your reason. The PlayStation has a more streamlined information transfer from one place to another. I mean, technically weaker specs, but better performance. And just how it works sometimes. There was a lot of network services that were down this week for roughly a day. PlayStation was down for at least a little bit, but I think they got up pretty quickly. Xbox had a much harder time of it. They were down for roughly the whole day. I think it was like Wednesday. Something like that. I don't remember what day it was. Honestly, I wasn't paying too much attention to it. I saw people on Twitter were losing their shit, though. They were, they just couldn't figure out why. And I think the reason why most of them were upset was because basically the way the Xbox is set up, unless you go select, you have to change something in the settings, which by default, this selection is not chosen, that if you lose network access, you can't play anything. It doesn't matter if it's physical, digital, the free game with the Xbox Game Pass, or it doesn't matter. You can't play any of your games. End of story. And so a lot of people didn't realize that option was there. For the disc-based games, anyways. So that set off kind of an uproar. It wasn't just Sony and Microsoft. There was a big old list of services that were down, but I know Microsoft got the biggest hate for it, which is kind of strange because usually PlayStation's the one that gets hate on it, but in either case, it doesn't matter. All the services went down for a short period of time. It wasn't extended. Let's see. There's rumors, relatively strong rumors, enough to make Digital Foundry talk about it. And I have yet to watch this video yet, but they basically are breaking down, the rumor states that native PlayStation 3 emulation is coming to the PlayStation 5, which, actually we talked about this last week now that I think about it. Digital Foundry more or less has a video that says it might be a little hard to do that. And like I said, I haven't watched the video, so I can't really comment on it. Some additional news is recently, I don't remember exactly how recently, but within the last couple of months, Sega announced a string of semi-remakes or resurgences for old franchises, and one of them is Crazy Taxi. I'm sure you guys remember Crazy Taxi from the Dreamcast or PlayStation 2 days, and they have announced that the new Crazy Taxi game is going to be an open world MMO, which is interesting. I don't know how you make a taxi game in an MMO without making it not a taxi game. Like, are you going to be crashing into other people to take customers across the city? Is it going to be like Burnout Paradise or something? Like, it's really confusing to me on how exactly it's going to work. But to be honest with you, I'm not really upset because Crazy Taxi was tons of fun. I couldn't stop playing that game when I was a kid. It was one of the best arcade games that I could find in arcades and at home. I mean, me and my cousin would play it on such a frequent basis. We would do our best to turn over buses and trains and stuff like that by crashing into them as much as we could. We didn't, it was just a fun game, almost like a GTA when you turned all the police up and you did your best to survive as long as possible, something along those lines. But anyways, it's going to be an open world MMO, and I don't know how that's going to work. There is a video explaining it, but it looks like it's in Japanese, and I have yet to turn on the translation for it. But some people in the comment section seem not necessarily upset. So I don't know. We'll see when they actually show it off more properly later. Dragon's Dogma 2 has got a pretty major performance update. It performs up to 66% better in towns and cities, which are CPU-bound scenarios. Computer, how do I put this? It doesn't matter. It performs better in towns, which is a good improvement. The game struggled in towns in a lot of areas, which maybe means that the built-in ray tracing option that is disabled, that you can't turn on without mods, maybe that means they're trying to make it possible for PC players to turn on ray tracing by default. And one thing that I noticed is that it has both DLSS and FSR, and apparently the FSR works better than the DLSS, which is kind of interesting. Usually that's not the case. The DLSS is machine learning, and it's basically just better. But in any case, that one's getting a performance update, and I think it is just for the computer. But perhaps I'm wrong, simply because I didn't read the article. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare as much as possible, so I'm just going off of what I've read over the week and what I found over the past, 20 minutes when I was looking. Let's see. I've got other things. I don't have anything else that I found, but I know there's more. It's just a matter of finding it. Like I said, the week was relatively slow, but let's see. Nintendo, the president of Nintendo basically said quite a few different things. He said that he wants to step down and hand off. No, that was Iwata, the guy that pretty much announced all the games, or that made all the games from Zelda to Metroid to Donkey Kong and whatnot. He's basically said he wants to step down and hand those franchises off to the younger people because he's ready to, I guess, not to oversee everything, which makes sense. He's kind of an older guy now. I'm sure he would stay on as some sort of lead or advisor or something along those lines, but we'll see. I mean, I actually think that's been the case with the past 3 or 4 Zeldas. I'm pretty sure he hasn't been overseeing them from the top down, so it doesn't surprise me. They also stated that they are not going to use AI for games development because they've got decades of experience and they don't want to. Basically, they're doing the morally correct thing here, and they're not replacing people with AI because they want to employ people. They have the experience. They want to be able to pass that experience down, so on and so forth. It's the right move, if you ask me. Although I do think someone else from Nintendo also stated that there are uses for AI. So perhaps he means in other ways that it's not going to take work from people. They're going to take his money. One of our patrons says that Nintendo's going to take their money the way that things are looking in the coming future, and I'm not terribly surprised with that. Although I think the rumor has it that they're going to be using DLSS, which is AI, but that's not taking work from people. That's just making life easier. So I think that might be what they mean, what Nintendo means when they said that there are use cases for AI that's not going to be taking money or jobs from people. Another bit of news, Capcom's Exoprimal, their live service, very Anthem-like game, although not Anthem because there's a whole bunch of dinosaurs. It's not going to see... It's ending future support for the game. It's basically going into a... what do they call it? Like a... Not a dormant state. I guess a dormant state might be the best way to put it. But basically, they're no longer making new content for it, but they're not taking the servers down. So if you want to continue to play it, you can. It's going to go through a rolling series of the seasons. I think there's 4 seasons that released for it over the course of the last year, because it's only been available for a year. And it's just going to rotate between 1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, until they decide to end proper support for your ability to play it. Hopefully, they'll eventually turn it, make it an offline game too, because the game did look interesting and I did want to buy it. I just never did. Maybe I'm part of the reason that it's being canceled. Let's see. There's rumors that Netflix has canceled the Horizon Zero Dawn TV series, live action TV series. Although those are, in my opinion, kind of weak rumors, simply because the person that was overseeing them, I don't know if he was the director or what, the financier, I don't know. Apparently, he got there's allegations against him that are like he's. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Well, I guess it's going to be live. Awesome. I think my internet just died, so sorry for the live side of things. But if it didn't, I'll at least have the podcast side of things. Anyways, the rumor has it that the guy overseeing it, he's like notoriously difficult to work with. He's sexist and all these other allegations of things. So, yeah, apparently they canceled the Horizon TV show because of that. It seems like a strange reason if you ask me, but maybe that's the case. I don't know. That's what the rumors are saying. I feel like they would just be able to give it to somebody else that they would trust to do so. I don't know. I don't know how these things work. Maybe that's reason enough. We'll see. Let's see. Speaking of TV show / movie adaptations, the Watch Dogs movie, which has been I don't know if it's been in development hell, but I know they announced it years and years ago. They finally started filming for it, which means they obviously have a full script, they have a director, they have all the actors and everything else. That means we can hopefully look forward to seeing it relatively soon, in the next year or so. I really enjoyed Watch Dogs, and this could be actually a really cool movie if they do it right. So, there you go. Now, what else do we have here? Last week's news. What else we got? The new BioShock game apparently is being ramped up for development. Yes, BJ, if you are watching, I am solo today. Where'd that go? That's where it went. The new BioShock, they're ramping up development, they're hiring new people, and to me, that sounds like the game's in really early development, even though they announced it like 2-3 years ago or something along those lines at this point. I think when they announced it, they announced that they were going to make one, not that they were making one just yet. So hopefully this means that they've got a design idea and all that other stuff underneath them, and development shall continue, or shall begin, I guess. What else do we have here? We have the developer behind Escape from Tarkov, which is an extraction shooter, apparently has done something that I think pretty much every game should do. Instead of banning cheaters, they've put bounties on cheaters, and other players that are not cheaters, they, 1, will gain stuff from killing them, but 2, they'll also be rewarded if they report them. So it humiliates people. That's honestly, I think, what needs to happen a lot more, because if these people get banned, what are they going to do? They're just going to go buy another copy and cheat again. I mean, that just, it happens so frequently in online games. I've seen pro players be caught cheating because they're freaking stupid, and I don't know. I think shaming people is how we should teach people lessons a lot more often, in many cases. And I think this is a good option. I've seen other developers do this on occasion. It doesn't happen too often, but it does happen sometimes, and I think it should be more prevalent, if you ask me. Let's see, what else do we got? Nintendo being Nintendo, they are taking action against people using their IPs in ways they don't like, shutting down fan projects and all sorts of other stuff. Rockstar confirmed some stupidness from their part, that all they care about is money, that they had a standalone story DLC for GTA 5 and they canceled it because GTA Online apparently became a cash cow. So instead of making what fans wanted, they, as far as what like the actual fan base wanted, and I mean that in like the hardcore fan base, it's so hard to say any of these words because all of these words apply to the people to play GTA Online as well. So it's hard to say these without sounding like an elitist or like a purist or something. But basically, they said money or goodwill. Money, yeah. That's what it seems like to me in any case. They canceled the standalone story DLC, which I think they said they were going to make. But obviously they're going to make more money by making microtransactions and things of that sort for an online game that blew up like GTA Online. So I'm not terribly surprised. That's how much of the world works. They don't give a shit about you. They give a shit about your wallet. They want you to open it, give them as much wallet money as possible. Speaking of cash cows, MiHoYo, the developers behind the one I'm about to mention, but Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail and whatnot, they have their newest game, their newest gacha just released. It's called Zenless Zone Zero. It's available on PC, cell phone, and PlayStation platforms. It is actually quite enjoyable. It's like a 90s aesthetic for the world and the technology and stuff in it for the most part, but it's told in a comic book story format where like literally everything is like a comic book. It like actually flips over, almost like the way Infamous did it, I believe. And the combat is almost a play between Devil May Cry and I would say those 2v2 fighters, the side by side fighters where you're in the middle of a combo, then you could swap out to the other character in the middle of said combo and continue the combo with a new person or do some ultimates or whatever. It's got that kind of a feel to it, but it's a 3D action hack and slash. Like, it's actually really fun. I found it really enjoyable. I didn't play it terribly long because it released the same day as the First Descendant, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But basically, if you like gachas or you like the anime style games from the Genshin Impact guys, then this is one to look forward or look into because it's free. Why not? And it's another game that looks, in my opinion, I think the combat's better than Genshin's. It seems to, I don't know, it seems to flow better, if you ask me. But as for free-to-play, there's another Destiny/Warframe style title that just released. It's a third-person shooter titled The First Descendant, and I believe it's made by a Korean developer. I don't know if they've ever made any other games. It is made by... Okay, it's made by Nexon. So, yeah, no, never mind. They've got a pretty storied history. I don't know if the developer themselves have, but yeah, it's a Korean company. So it's been blowing up quite a bit, actually. It is on Steam, if I'm not mistaken. It's got 250,000 players, and it's had that pretty much since launch. Let me see real quick. Their player counts have been pretty darn good since it came out. Yeah, it's got 200,000 people in the game right now. Let's see. Its player peak was within the last 24 hours. It hit 248,000 players, and day one they hit 229,000. So they're not gaining a ton of players, but they're keeping their players, it seems like. In any case, I quite enjoyed it. I basically felt the Destiny/Warframe within it, but it has beautiful characters. The world is really good. The struggle that I had was the voice acting isn't the best, and the animation around the characters, not during combat, but in conversations, felt kind of like PlayStation 3 era, where they don't move a lot. They might move their hands a little bit or whatever, but their animations just feel, I don't know, not stiff, but limited, I guess, like a Bethesda title. I think that might be a good way to put it. But like an NPC Bethesda, not very human-like. In any case, the game itself is quite fun. It's got a grappling hook, which really makes the combat interesting and more vertical. And there's these colossi in the game, so it's got a little bit of, I guess, Shadow of the Colossus in it, in a third-person shooter. And the co-op is quite fun. It's free to play. I mean, it's one of those, why not give it a shot? And it's available everywhere. It's on PC, PlayStation, Xbox. As usual, sorry Nintendo, you just don't get the things. But free to play, give it a shot if you're interested in those types of games. Anyways, oh, what else do we have? Nintendo also stated that game development cycles are going to be longer, and that's unavoidable. Which, if you know anything about technology, the way it's progressed, that makes all the sense. I did not talk about Once Human. I didn't really play a whole lot of it. That was more of actually Mike's thing. I did play the very first invite beta because I got into that. But at the time, I had very little time, so I played it for probably like 2 hours, something like that. It is coming out the 9th. I haven't looked at the release list yet. That's how I end the episodes. We go over all the games coming out within the next week. So I will be talking about it. That's why I haven't talked about it yet. But also because I haven't looked at it. The release list. Oh, Shadow of the Erd Tree, the Elden Ring DLC, basically pissed everybody off, and From Software was like, okay, we'll nerf everything. Unfortunately, I don't like that idea personally, but they did. And actually, there's quite a few people that are upset about it because they've made it way too easy in some cases. I don't know how it all works. I don't play the games, or I don't play them. Not that I don't play them, it's that I haven't played this one, nor its DLC. So it almost feels like pandering to me, because in the past, actually, I think within the last 2 weeks, I think they said that if they make the games easier, then it's going to break the games or something along those lines. And basically in the sense of, they were saying, this is the game, it's hard, deal with it. And then people freaked out and they're like, okay, we'll make it easier, which it feels like pandering. It's stupid if you ask me. But, I guess you want more people to play the games, and now they've got way, way, way more people playing their game, Elden Ring in this case, than any of their previous ones. So I guess that they kind of have to bow a little bit. I don't know. That's what they decided to do, and that's what they did. Oh, random little side news. Some dude in the UK went to jail because he was carrying a replica of the Master Sword. I think it was like 5 inches or something like that. But, knives aren't legal over there, so it sucks to be him. Stupid, but that's what happened. Let's see. Oh, this one actually really upset me over the week. Hironobu Sakaguchi, the guy that's the father of Final Fantasy, who left Square Enix a while back and made some games. His first games outside of Square Enix were Lost Odyssey for the Xbox 360, as well as Blue Dragon for the Xbox 360, and then he made The Last Story for the Nintendo Wii. Super, super great games, all of them. Phenomenal RPGs. And unfortunately, he says he has zero interest whatsoever on working on any of his iconic or old franchises, which sucks, because Lost Odyssey was, next to Final Fantasy 6 and 16, Lost Odyssey is like the best RPG ever released. It's so freaking good, it's not even funny. And it's console locked to the Xbox 360. It's never been released anywhere else, not even on PC. And it's probably cracked, so you can probably download a ROM of it on PC somewhere. But I would still like to play it, even if they just port it to the PC. Don't do anything to it but port it, because it's so freaking good. It's frustrating that it's locked where it is, unfortunately. But that's me. I guess technically Microsoft owns it. I think I have to look that up, but I think Microsoft owns it. So if they wanted to, they could just make it backwards compatible. I guess it probably is backwards compatibility. It still sucks if you ask me. But anyways. A lot of people are dogging on Hellblade, not Hellblade, but Helldivers 2 because they've lost 90% of their player base, which sounds bad, but it's basically what all live service games do. Like all of them, they have a huge surge in the beginning, and then they lose players over the course of time when newer games come out and stuff. Although I will be fair to the people who are reporting on this, Helldivers has effectively been drip fed, and the way they were drip feeding content was awesome at first, but they haven't done anything for a while now. Anything worth getting people excited about and coming back, because it's gotten rather repetitive in the long run. You're just doing the same missions over and over again, and they haven't changed up the gameplay style or given us new enemies, which have been rumored or hinted at for the last 2 or 3 months. The I forget what they're called. Another alien style from the first game. And it needs something new. And I'd be willing to bet, given how popular it got at first and how many copies it sold, they've got something in the works. And so it'll get more players back once something big releases for it. Everyone loves the game. They don't like it any less. They're just a little tired of the same thing over and over again. So it does still have a healthy fan base of like 50,000 people roughly playing it on a daily basis. So that is a pretty good number of people when you consider the fact other games like Hellblade 2 caps out at like 10, something like that. That might be a little harsh on Hellblade 2. I don't know. Now I'm curious. Hellblade 2 charts. We've got 72 people. Okay, so I was a little harsh. 72 people playing the game right now, and on the 24-hour peak, 142. So yeah, it's got some people playing it, but also it's on Xbox Game Pass or Microsoft Game Pass, so most people wouldn't buy it. Like me, I paid $10 for Game Pass. For Game Pass, so I could play it and then be done. Their all-time peak was 3,982, so they didn't do very, very well to begin with. But I sort of digress. Oh yeah, Dead Rising 2, or not Dead Rising 2, Dead Rising 1. Dead Rising, they're calling it Dead Rising Deluxe, Deluxe Remaster. I think that's what it is. DRDR. It's getting a remake, although it's kind of hard to call it a remake. It's kind of like a hardcore remaster, where they've redone all the graphics and they've added ray tracing, and they've changed a lot about the game, like actually quite a lot about the game. So it is kind of a remaster. BJ says that Sony killed Helldivers. I don't think Sony had anything to do with it. I just think it was the fact that it's a rather repetitive game, so you can only do so much, the same thing so many times in a row without a little bit of diversity in the gameplay. And I think that's coming. It's almost guaranteed to be coming. But anyways, let's see, what are they doing? Oh, I don't care about the voice actor. Yeah, for some reason they chose a different voice actor for Frank, the main character of Dead Rising. And also he looks way freaking different. But that's what they're doing. Actually, they even changed one of the main villains is an Asian character. One of the main boss fights is an Asian character, and for some reason he's no longer Asian, he's now white. But whatever. Let's see, what are the changes? It's getting a new autosave feature. Thank God. That was one of the problems with the original. Let's see what else. So they're getting that's not the only thing. I know there's more. Here we go. All talking about the character. The articles that I'm finding are talking about the characters remodel and things of that sort. I'm trying to find what's actually new in it. Let's see, here we go. We got, apparently Capcom themselves says it's a remaster, but its scope is so big that you could call it a remake. It's got improved graphics. It's got improved survivor AI. I know there's more than that. I read a long list of it, probably on Twitter, where someone made it easy to read. Apparently you can fast forward time if you so choose, which is kind of weird. The game's already limited time as it is, but I guess if you want to take some of that away, you can. Oh, these lists suck. Where's my comprehensive list of changes? Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's getting a fair upgrade, like a really big upgrade. So if you liked the original or never played it, maybe you can look into it. Halo Infinite got some sort of update 4 days ago. I didn't read that one. Actually, I remember pulling it up. I just never read it. It's a new 20-tier operation pass. I guess that's a battle pass. A new big team battle mode, a refresh of the exchange, and an upcoming Waypoint Chronicle, and then more. So if you or anyone else still plays Halo Infinite, it is getting a major upgrade. But now I'm curious about what the player count on that one was, because if I remember correctly, it had a pretty hefty player count. But I also know it's been a storied history, not necessarily good stuff, except for when Forge launched, I think last year. It's been doing a lot of good stuff. So now I'm curious. What's the Steam DB on Halo Infinite? It's got 4,000 people playing it currently, and it's had a 4,128 player peak, and that seems to be about right. Just about every single day, it seems like the same people log in. If you look over the past week, if you look over the past month, yeah, it's pretty steady. Actually, they're not really growing, but they're also not losing people. So, I mean, that's also just Steam. It's also available in the Microsoft Store, if I'm not mistaken, as well as, of course, Game Pass. So I'm sure there's a heftier player base than that. Same goes for Hellblade that I mentioned earlier. But I mean, 4,000 people, it's not the worst. In any case, they're getting more content, and I'm wondering when they're going to announce the next Halo, because it's been a few years now. I mean, it's probably been, like 3 years, something along those lines. Maybe they'll have a better first showing this time around. We talked about a game, man, it was probably like in the episode 30s. It's a cozy, basically Animal Crossing style game-ish called Palia. I downloaded it and played it for a little while. I actually quite enjoyed it. It's very, very relaxing. The developers, Singulari, were purchased by Daybreak Games over the last week, and hopefully that's going to help them out, because apparently Palia didn't do as well as they wanted it to. At least that's what I understood from it. And so hopefully this will give them a bigger backer to help support them throughout it. And actually, apparently 4 million people have tried the game, and as of June this year, they've had over 100,000 players playing daily. So that sounds like it's actually doing pretty damn well. So now I'm curious as to why all the doom and gloom was announced about it. Palia is only available on Epic Game Store, I believe. I don't think it's available on Steam, but maybe it is. Yeah, it is available on Steam. I think it was originally available on the Epic Game Store, but it's also on Switch, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it's coming to other platforms. But they've got an average of about 10,000 people that play it daily, and that's on Steam, anyways. So that just gives you an example of Steam DB not being your best, I don't know, place to look at for how many people are playing a game. Because I've actually seen other developers say that. There was one game, I don't remember what it was. I want to say it was an arena shooter of some sort. But Steam DB said it had like less than 100 people every day. But the developer came out and was like, those numbers are way freaking wrong. We've got people in like the 20,000s playing this on a daily basis. And according to Daybreak, who just purchased the Palia developer, they say they have over 100,000 people playing it daily. But that's also between multiple platforms. So I guess it's harder to gauge when the game is multi-platform. Although I am curious, what are the platforms the game is on? According to Google, Palia is currently available for PC and Nintendo Switch. I was correct. I wonder if it's coming to other platforms. From what I can see, here, let me just Google that real quick. Let's just see if it's coming. Not that I can tell. It doesn't seem to be. Not that I can see. Apparently, they haven't announced it for other platforms. It's just PC and Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch, I guess it sort of makes sense to choose that platform simply because it's... I don't want to call it not a hardcore platform, but it's kind of not for hardcore gamers. It's more for slightly casual. I don't know. Maybe that's an inaccurate thing to say, but it's just at this point it's so underpowered. A lot of games are skipping it. So that's kind of where I'm coming from when I say that it's not necessarily a hardcore gamers platform, because everyone's skipping out on it because of its power deficiency. But that's another reason why many people are like, where the hell is the Switch 2? Like you're losing out here unless Nintendo has some sort of crazy support coming out for the Nintendo Switch 2 when it launches. Maybe like there's going to be 100 games available at launch from, the last couple of years or something like that have skipped out on them, and they're just, you'd buy the system and there's already a gigantic library. Obviously, well, not obviously, but my guess would be obviously it's going to be fully backwards compatible with all the Nintendo Switch games, so you don't got to worry about basically buying the game for the 18th time because they've ported it yet again. I think that would be the smart choice, but Nintendo also likes their money too, and they've done a lot of scummy shit lately, and I don't like it. I don't like a lot of what they've done. I'm so torn on Nintendo. I have a storied history. I used to like nothing but Nintendo. Everybody else sucked, and I wouldn't consider anything else. Then I moved on, and then I still loved their games. I still played them, and then they got all easy and childish, and I got kind of upset about that, and there was nothing for me to do, and every game was easy. And then they finally started releasing more games, and at the point, I'm like, Nintendo's a scummy-ass business, and they suck in a lot of ways, but they're also really good in a lot of ways, and I'm looking forward to things like Metroid Prime 4. So, I don't know. It's complicated. That's what we'll say. Let's see. Speaking of the Switch 2, though, Nintendo apparently is going to do their best to have basically no shortages on availability. That way they can more or less avoid scalping. So hopefully that means if you want one, you can just go walk in and buy it. But that's probably going to have to be a ridiculous number of units, and I have a feeling that no matter what Nintendo does, there's going to be scalping, at least for a little bit, maybe like a month or so, some short period of time, not like the regular Nintendo Switch or the Wii or the PlayStation 5, like not where it lasts like a year or two. Hopefully it'll be a very short period of time. Oh, I mean that's talking about a lot of little things. There really isn't much more to talk about. Like, there was no really big topics for me to discuss, other than the fact that I can add that because of the Steam sale, I decided to buy a game that a lot of people probably aren't going to be very happy with me for buying. But I picked up Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League because it's $20 on Steam, and when I played the beta, I got into the closed beta, and I actually enjoyed it. It felt a lot like Crackdown, the 360 Grand Theft Auto / cop superhero game. I loved Crackdown. I thought they were great. They're not the best games ever, but they were fun, which is what matters in a video game. And Suicide Squad very much felt like that. Yes, it's a live service. Yes, it's got microtransactions. Yes, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Microtransactions don't bother me. I can avoid them, especially in a non-PvP based game. Like, I don't care if someone's stronger than me in a PvE game. I don't care. Like, I don't care. End of story. There's nothing to talk about. If someone wants to buy all the power in the world they want to on a PvE game, go ahead. I don't care. But in any case, the game itself is actually rather fun. I played it for like 2.5 hours, something like that. And the storyline's on point. The voice acting is really good. The world is fun to interact with, although there's a few things that I'm a little confused about. They just haven't explained to me yet, I would presume, in any case. There's just some things that I'm like, what the hell is that there for? And I couldn't find a map. Maybe I'm stupid, but I couldn't find a map. M doesn't take you to the map. M takes you to the menu, which was strange. And when you look at the menu, you can see all the different options, and I didn't see anything for a map. Maybe it's not available, or maybe I haven't unlocked it yet because I'm not far enough in the story. I don't know. But you can choose to play between the 4 different characters, and the 4 base characters anyways. And I chose Deadshot because he's got the jetpack, and I particularly like that movement style over the others. More or less. That was the reason I chose him. even though each character does kind of have the same. Let me rephrase this. They all have effectively they all have a double jump, but they all have the same movement style in the sense of like Deadshot. He's got a jetpack, and once you use all of it, you can like effectively reload 3/4 of it, if like in a shortfall, to then be able to fly a little bit more. And Harley Quinn has this like grappling hook swing attached to like a Batman drone, basically, and she swings and then she attaches to it again and then it reloads, and basically the movement style is extremely similar for all of them. The Killer Shark, or whatever the hell his name is, the shark one, his is the only one that's actually rather different in the sense of it feels different from the rest, but all of them have a very similar movement style in practice. They don't feel the same, but the way they work is exactly the same. And so that's a little disappointing, but I guess they don't want to make anyone clearly better or worse than the others. But ultimately, it was decent. It's decent, and I enjoyed it, and I'm going to continue to play it. I'll probably just play the storyline, and that's it. But that's all I'm there for. $20, and I'll enjoy it. They actually did announce that They Them Freeze, or otherwise known by the developers as Mrs. Freeze, who's not an existing character in the DC universe. They made her it thing, whatever it is, for the video game, and I implore you, go look up that character and try not to laugh. Maybe I'm being a little harsh, but she looks super butch, and she looks like your typical they them Karen. Moving on without trying to lose all my fan base. I don't know if she's a playable character. I don't know if she's going to be a villain. I doubt it, because, whole kill the Justice League thing. I would assume character. I don't know. I know. Let me rephrase this. There's the Joker, and I don't know if he's a playable character, if you unlock him or what. So I'm assuming she's going to be in the same vein as the Joker. I haven't gotten far enough to know yet, and I haven't been paying attention super closely to the game. I just played the beta, enjoyed it enough, but not enough to buy it for $70. So when it dropped to 20, I was like, yeah, why not? Especially because I had credit on Steam already. Oh, but anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's probably about going to do it for me. It's been about an hour, and I've been rambling about random little bits of news over the week, and I'm by myself. So thank you for showing up. I'm going to go use the bathroom now, and then probably hop on a game. But the problem is I have Suicide Squad, The First Descendant, Zenless Zone Zero, Final Fantasy XIV, and I picked up Stellar Blade yesterday and loved what I played. I already loved what I played, but I put it down for so long that I almost forgot how much I enjoyed it. So I'm going to be in a dilemma of what game do I play. Whatever I do decide to play, I'll probably continue to stream it. So anyways, thank you for being here, and tell your mom I said hi.